Welcome back to our Facebook Live from our Money Mindset Mentors for him, Rachel, Amanda, and Connie. And we are so excited to share some other tips and tools for you today to be able to move forward in your investment goals. And remember, we have been given money as a tool, and the more wisely we use this tool, the better things we can build for ourselves, our families, and others. So that's what we're all about today. Love to share about the journey of an investor, and that's what Amanda is on right now. She has decided to take the challenge and the plunge to do actual investing in real time so you can follow her journey and go right along with her and either store it up for the future or do it right alongside her. So Rachel, as you know, she is our real estate investment specialist, and Amanda is our Dave Ramsey certified money coach. And both of them together are going to share some tips and tools of their journey along this way of finding the right investment property, getting all prepared for investing, and then making this process go as smoothly as possible. So Rachel and Amanda, catch us up to where you are. Take it away of where you're at.
Awesome.
Go ahead, Rachel.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, okay, Amanda, let's hear where you are and what's going on.
Yes. So from the last time when we met, I have started looking. I spend 5 minutes a day and I go to sites and I start looking at what is out there. The other thing that I did is because I know the locations of where I want to be. I've chosen a location that most people would be like, why did you pick that? Like, it's like that area is not really a hot happening area. However, it allows me to be close to my dad. And it also allows me, I have connections to do property management. I know people that I trust there. And so it just is an area where I feel better about investing for this first time. And then the other reason is I also have looked at what's happening with like city council meetings, and knowing that that area is going to potentially grow, I thought it would be a good time to jump in right now. So that being said, looked at two areas.
Really,
go ahead.
Really quickly, it also has a college in the area, right?
Yes. Okay. And that is so the two properties that I'm looking at right now. One is a unit. It's got 6 units in it, and it is like walking distance to the college. Currently right now it is all being rented out, so every single one of those units is rented to a family. Ideally I would like to use that for college students and rent the rooms. That would be my ideal, what I'm thinking about with that one. And then the second one is actually, it's about 20 minutes drive from the college. So that changes a lot. That changes a lot of things. It's a property that actually has 2 homes on it. One home is 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. The other one is 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. And that would be, it comes with some acreage. So those properties would definitely be more family. So one would be more like college student that I would be looking at for my target clientele. And then the other one would be these 2 families.
Awesome. Well, my mind is turning for sure as I'm listening to you talk. Just something you said kind of sparked something in me when you said that you're looking at an area that's not necessarily like a hot area that other people would look in. I think that's smart, honestly. And is it smart to go where things are hot? Yeah, that's smart too. But where this area, you have connections, so you have a team, especially for your first investment, it's going to be a lot easier to pull people together, and any stresses that come up, you're going to be able to handle them a lot easier. Just also from my perspective, personal perspective, I have short-term rentals. One of them is actually one that we converted into 3 units, is in a very rural, not hot spot. And then one of them is actually in a hot spot. And I'll let you guess which one in the down months, which is right now during like the fall, winter, which one of those properties is actually doing a lot better. Any guesses?
I think the one that's not in the hot spot.
Yeah. So my one that we converted into 3 units is actually doing a ton more business right now, because when we put it there, we looked at the competition, made it the best it could be, so it actually shines really nicely, and we are booked crazy. So don't let that sway you. If people are like, oh my gosh, this is where you need to go, Like you got to do all the research you need to, kind of trust yourself. You're smart. You can, figure things out. So anyway, back to your properties. So I love your idea about putting college students in where the families are. Can you tell me why you're thinking that?
Well, I'm thinking that because I just feel like it would be, I don't really know why I'm thinking that. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know why I'm thinking that, but what I'm thinking, I don't know. I kind of do, but I kind of don't. But okay, so I'm throwing it out there, but it is going to be mumbo jumbo. And if nobody makes sense of it, it's okay. That's a part of my brain on the daily.
Awesome.
So there we go. My thought process is that I feel like I'm going to have the guaranteed money, and I feel like I'll make more money. I'll have a bigger bang for my buck. So what I mean for that is, like, if I have kiddos that's on scholarships, I know that money's coming in. If I have kiddos that parents are helping with college, I know that money's coming in. And then the other thing is by renting by room, I feel like instead of, let's say rent, I don't know, I'm just going to throw a number out. Let's say rent is $500. Then I know that I could take that and I can maybe go like $250 per room, and then I can make more money. So I'll get more return on my investment doing it that way by renting out the rooms versus renting out the whole house to one family.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's smart thinking. So when you're looking at, especially around a college place or somewhere that has a lot, like a downtown area where there's a lot of walking and things like that, renting out by the room. Or another thought actually just came to me is furnish finders. And I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but what it is specifically for a lot of traveling nurses use it. So like people that have contracts, they will want to have a room. Sometimes they want the whole unit, but sometimes they'll just want a room. So you can rent to those type of people as well. But you're absolutely correct. When you put single students or single people in a room, you are most likely going to make more money than you will with a family. It's going to be more work for you, because instead of just one contract that you're dealing with, you're now going to have 6 or 8 or however many. So make sure that that's something that you're comfortable handling. Another way to do that, though, is if you were like, oh, I want to rent out the rooms, but I don't want to be in charge of that, then you can rent it to one person and for the total price of single rooms. And then they would be in charge of collecting all the rent. So there's multiple ways that you can handle that situation. Something else to kind of think about, I know in 2020, some people listening might say, hey, like, I live in an area where all the colleges were shut down and all the landlords lost all their income. That is absolutely something that you need to think about. And it can be state specific or county specific. What kind of state do you live in? Are you in a conservative state? Are you in a liberal state? Not saying one or the other is better, but pay attention to those laws, because those will make a huge difference.
And I thought another thing too, when you were talking about, there's a lot of turnover with college students. So I think it would be good to have someone, even if they're not in the apartment, if they are in the apartment, it's someone who knows they're going to commit to stay for a year, 2 years or whatever. And they know that they're going to deal with the turnover. And there's so many ways to do rent nowadays that can make it so much easier, so that they're not going around obviously the days of cash are so over. So Rentler or other things that you can do that not only track the rent, but also track other details about the property is an easy kind of one-stop shop for someone who is doing their own property managing to be able to kind of use those tools. I don't know if there's any other tools that you would recommend, Rachel.
No, I am a fan of Rentler. I know Zillow does the same things. There's a bunch of them out there that will do that for you. And all of my properties I handle by myself, and we have over 25 renters that do this. So it makes it very simple. In fact, I have to tell on my husband a little bit really fast. We just, I'm in Texas right now and he's in Michigan, and we just got a new renter in one of our properties in Michigan. So I was sent him, to go and meet the people and whatever. Guess what? He collected the money with a money order. And I was like, okay, you can do that if you want to, but I've never done it. I always make sure that they are doing it through Rentler. And I'll tell you, there's been a few hiccups because of it. And I think it's much easier to use one of those systems, but I think it's really funny. I'm like, I told you so.
In the most loving, happy way. But these are some
Absolutely.
these early kind of as you go along mistakes or learning lessons, life lessons that I prefer to call them, that you're just learning as you go that you don't know. And those are things that you can avoid with information like this to go, I know how to do that ahead of time. No, I'm going to do it through Rentler. No, this is the way we roll. And I think that's a great phrase to be able to use with people is the way I work it is. And that tells them there's not a lot of room for wiggling around in here. This is the way I know that it works and you can meet that bar and we're going to do well. And that kind of lends itself to maybe an adjunct question of vetting people coming in. I know that that's a huge piece for any renters I've had is vetting them and avoiding this people trashing your place and things like that. So any suggestions, Rachel, on how to vet people coming in?
Yeah, so for sure using one of those companies again. Not that Rentler's the only one out there, it's just the one I prefer right now. That actually allows you to look at their credit report and their background history. It allows you to ask questions and find out information you probably wouldn't find out just by talking to them or, saying, hey, give me some pay stubs. There are a lot of landlords, want X amount, like 3 times rent. Because we're private landlords, we actually don't require that much. And we've had knock on wood, but we've had very, very good luck with all of our renters. I like to attribute that to our personal connection with each of them. So some people say don't have any kind of relationship with them. I actually like to try to give them, treats at holidays or, calls or things like that. And that for me has worked very, very well. But going back to the credit history and the background history, there's certain things, and you have to know what you're comfortable with. There's certain things that we just can't have. And so that will eliminate, those, whatever your comfort level is, it'll eliminate those right off the bat.
What are some of the things that you have found are like a non-negotiable?
Well, for sure, non-negotiables are felonies. Also, right now, just because we don't want to deal with much, so we don't allow, bankruptcies. We don't allow, like, if there is this is interesting. If their credit history is lower, we tend to look at that and say, okay, why is it lower? Is it because they don't have a lot of credit? Or is it because they are late or delinquent on a lot of payments? And that is going to determine whether or not we move forward with them. Some of our best renters are actually young 20-year-olds that don't have credit history. And they have been amazing. And so for us, it's kind of like a, just individual by individual basis. And it's been a while that we've had renters and we've really lucked out. So
what a blessing. I love that. I know that isn't kind of the direction we were thinking, but I'd love to add some other thoughts on renters. But Amanda, did you have something you want to add on?
Yeah, well, I have a question. You had mentioned something called short-term rental. What do you mean by that?
Short-term rental is when you do nightly rentals. So it's like most people would recognize it by like Airbnb or like Vrbo. But it's in the investment world, you would refer to that as short-term rental because Airbnb is just a company that you might use to manage.
So that could be for a night, 3 nights, whatever. Someone's coming into town, they have to take care of something or whatever.
Yeah. Typically it is less than 30 days. And we should do a separate podcast on that because there's a whole bunch of things that they're separate to look for if you wanted to do a short-term rental.
I love it. Love it.
Really, sorry, Connie, really fast, just about the college situation. I know Connie kind of mentioned like people coming and going because, maybe they're there for a semester, maybe they're there for 2 semesters. We actually have a property in Provo, Utah, and we make sure that it's rented from August to August. So if they were needing to leave, it's on them to find that new renter. And that has really helped guarantee that you're going to have that continuous income no matter what.
That was one of the points I wanted to bring up. Yeah.
But here's my question though, if you leave that on them to find the renter, then do you get to say yes or no? Because then I look at that vetting process or do you just get whoever they send in?
So we do. We've had a couple, well, this last August that we're looking for new people, and they go and they meet the other roommates. We find out who they are. So you can have as much control in that as you want to have.
I put that in my contracts that it's upon approval. So my renters actually get a little bit of a kickback if they find the next renter for me, because I'm not in a college situation, but if they find, and what I have found is they usually have the same kind of person that they are. And it's been great. I haven't hardly had to do any advertising. They'll just say, oh, so-and-so wants to take it over after. And then it's just per my approval. So I meet them and just get a feel for them. And then it's a thumbs up. So I think that keeps the control, but alleviates a lot of stress.
The other thing that I do for my college rental is I have mandatory cleaning checks, and I actually have a cleaner that goes over every week. If they don't keep the house clean, then they are responsible for paying that cleaner. So there's just just throw some things in there. Whatever you feel comfortable with, you can absolutely do.
Yeah, I was already thinking about the cleaner, and I was also thinking about yard maintenance, like having somebody just go and do the yard and make sure the sprinkling system gets winterized and just all of those things. And then adding that into the cost of the rent, right?
If you have a place that's more like townhomes, the HOA would usually cover those things. They'll cover exterior and landscaping, snow removal, and the sprinkler systems and things like that. But if that's not the case with this, then yeah. You are at the HOA.
I am. Okay. So then a couple other questions that I have then. So as I've talked about it with my husband, and as we've really looked at everything you've given us, the one thing that we've decided two for sure things. One is we definitely want to find somebody to partner with, somebody that knows the ropes as we're learning the ropes. So that is something we've definitely decided that is something we want to move forward with. So I would love to know, where do I start looking for that partnership?
That is an amazing question. And oh my goodness, we could talk about that forever. It's an amazing question because just because you know someone in real life and they say, hey, I'd love to partner on this with you, does not mean that you're going to jive as partners, or that does not mean that you have the same vision. So my recommendation for you, if you want to do this, is to go in on something small. So this, to me, what you're talking about seems it's a big project. So if you're looking for a partner, you need to do something small, in my opinion, to make sure that it works. And I'll give you an example. I have this great friend that we decided, we're like, I don't know, we just decided let's partner on this flip together. And it was me and my husband and then this gentleman. And so my husband was just kind of like silent, and then it was me and this other guy. And I was like, oh my gosh, we get along so great. Like everything's going to be wonderful. And little did I know, like he already had okay, well, I already have my construction company that I'm going to use. I'm going to have all these things. And so he just kind of ran with it. And I'm like, wait a second, like, hello, I'm still here, and it was an interesting learning experience for me that you need to know that you can work together. Like both of us, I think, are kind of like chiefs in the same thing, in the same, if that makes sense. And so you'll want to make sure that you know what your roles are. Like, is one person going to be in charge of, keeping track of the money and those type of things, and someone else is going to oversee the actual project, or however you want to set it up is completely fine. But make sure that you guys are on the same page. So to finish that flip, what ended up happening was that construction company that my partner hired, they fizzled out. They really did a poor job. Then I went in and I was there every single day, not for all day, but like every day I'd show up with like breakfast burritos and different things like that. And it just was like, hey, we have to get this job done and we have to get it done right. So if you're not on the same page, that I think is what's going to happen. Is the project, you think it's just going to be smooth and this is how it's going to end. That's not what's going to happen. Luckily, we're still good friends. That is a blessing, but we'll never be partners again. You know what I mean? So it's so important that you do something small. So if you're like, hey, I'd really like to, partner someone on this, my suggestion is, do you need some, financial stability, which sounds like you're ready on that end. Maybe what you need is someone that already knows how to do this, right? So they're going to be the property management. They're going to do all the vetting. They're going to do that. And you are going to watch, because that's going to be their role. Your role is the money. Their role is to find all that, do all that, teaching you so that you can then do it on your own if you want to next time, or, you know what I mean? So that way your roles are separate. You're only in that, like you have all, like you just, everything is defined, I guess is what I'm saying. And then you can decide going forward, do we want to partner again or not? If that makes sense.
Yes, that does. And that's exactly, like, I am looking for somebody to show me the ropes and how to do it. So I love the idea of defining those roles. I think that's very, very important. And I would love if you had any of that already done, that I could just, not reinvent the wheel. If you had, like, these are specific roles that you need to be thinking of, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I can write down a list of things that, things that you would need, and figure out like who's going to do what. Absolutely. And then the other thing is I know the area you're looking at, so we can look and see if there are people, who they are, and then we can talk to them and see if any of them are a good fit for you too, if that's what you want to do.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I love that idea. I'm trying to think. Okay, and then the next thing that I wanted to ask you too is, I know last time we talked about, and you had said it's a personal decision on if I take out equity in my home, or if I continue to save the down payment. So me and my husband, we're still kind of iffy on this one. We're leaning more towards save the down payment. Excuse me. So Amy had talked last time when we were all four on, she talked about FHA because you don't have to have as much down. Talk to me about that a little bit.
So that's tricky. You just have to, it's lender specific to see if you qualify. So you'll need to reach out to a lender to see if that's something that you qualify for. And each one will have, like, an FHA loan is a government loan. So there are going to be certain stipulations that you have to qualify for. It's a great loan, like Amy said, because typically you might be able to just put 3.5% down. But that is something a lender will need to talk about. And actually, I don't know if we ever want to have guests on here, but it might be nice to have an FHA approved lender that comes and gives their specifics on what exactly, they look for. And obviously everyone's situation is different, but I would recommend doing that.
Yes, I love that, because the other thing that I have thought about, that I've been thinking about too, is doing seller finance, seeing if they'll seller finance, giving the 20% down, because that's what Dave Ramsey recommends. And so that's what we're going towards, is that 20% down. And then that 20% down could be that give to the seller, so they know we're really invested. And yeah.
Love.
And we can talk about seller financing in another podcast too, where, I can pull out a contract and we can kind of talk about that. But yeah, those options are great. And I think having an FHA guy or lady would be amazing.
Love it. Oh my gosh, this is so perfect. There's like 3 other podcast episodes are going to be coming out of this one thing. I have loved that this is real time, Amanda. And that's when those questions come, is when you're actually in the middle of it and you're like, wait a second, how should we work this? So stay tuned. We will have podcast episodes on the FHA person coming and sharing what it takes to do the loan, seller financing, and also working with renters. What does that look like? How do you vet them? How do you treat them? How do you, obviously nicely, but how do you set boundaries? How do you do the cleaning checks? How do you do all of those things? How do you treat this as a compassionate business, right? And not just be railroading people just to make the moolah, because we do this for him. Ladies, thank you so much for your time today. This is so yummy. I can't wait for the next one. This is so great. And again, if you have questions that you want answered, go ahead and post them below or DM me, and then we will cover those in future podcasts, because we want to talk about what's real time important to you in your next steps of investing for him.